Welcome back to another episode of the Day After podcast.
What's up, guys? Yeah, 43 just premiered last night, and yeah, I'll admit it was cool and everything, though I do think it should have been an hour 30-minute special. Um,
Bro, you wanted less time.
well, I feel like I was kind of waiting for the challenges and stuff, and so when they were doing a lot of the getting to know you things, I was kind of like, wait, where's the challenge? Or something like that, or it kind of threw me off.
That is a very hot take, I feel, right? And I feel like more people love the more time to get to know all of the contestants.
I think like no, it was cool and all. I think like it, it I think it was the thing of like I was like, oh, it's not a double elimination. Oh, like um it was just not used to the pattern I've seen like for 2-hour episode premieres thus far, and
Yeah.
therefore I was like,
This is besides Zach going home as the a 2 hour one tribal council premiere. The last time that this happened was Heroes versus Villains, where they did 2 hours for one tribal council. Um,
exactly. So like that's why I was like, wait, so where is it? Um but like obviously with last season 42, if it wasn't for Jackson's thing, it was probably going to be another double elimination
yeah,
uh challenge, but
exactly.
because they already were down one, just made
Yeah,
sense.
they still lost two people in that episode, even
Yeah,
though there was only one tribal. But I know next week is a 90-minute episode actually, and my
really.
guess is that that's going to be a double tribal. I think they moved the double one back as like a little like okay, let's mix it up a little bit. Let's just put it in a different place.
Be interesting, especially since like things will be a bit more established
Yeah.
at that point between everyone, and so it's not just like a, I don't want to say a random, you know, kind of like two tribal councils where it's like, all
Mhm.
right, we're still getting to know each other
Mhm.
and lines aren't kind of divided, even though uh after this episode there was a lot of talks of like where things will go. Only one we saw was the Baka tribe, and even
Mhm.
then I feel like that one is kind of flexible on where it may go moving
Yeah.
forward.
Yeah. I still feel like that Baka tribe is the chaos tribe. They're going to be going a lot. Especially if we get a double tribal. There's no way they're beating Coco
Yeah,
or Vessi.
Coco.
Like, there's no way.
Yeah, the Coco tribe just, they showed like a very strong thing. Ryan, kind of do. I don't, he definitely showed his strengths this episode.
Yeah.
He definitely seems like, very like good, kind of like, I don't want to say hero edit, but more so like he is definitely like a role model. He
Yeah.
comes out there, he gets stuff done. He's willing to do like the what is it, sweater
Sweats.
savvy,
Yeah.
and like there's like, yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah. And he was smart about it. He figured out to do like an X,
The
and they
X,
were done in like minutes. Like they were like done. Like it took them almost no time.
I know that was I mean impressed, because like the sweater savvy, it's always a gambit, like with the, what is it, the triangle thing and stuff like that, and this time they only had one shot again.
Yeah.
um
Yeah,
so
yeah.
yeah.
I think this was an improvement of the Sweats and Savvy challenge. Personally, I think I think both options seemed a little more like you. I could see people going to either one a little more easy than last season's.
Yeah, and I think that's why we saw both of them do their thing.
Mhm.
Um, which was kind of cool because it's like, oh, all right, we get to see like both aspects of each one.
Yeah.
Um, and way to go to Sammy for like being the one to like solve that.
Yeah, that was production pulling a little tricky one on you, and that he was able to figure it out.
Yeah. Um, because you always kind of have to like, when it comes to these brain teasers and stuff like that, you have to look beyond the obvious, and
Yeah.
like Sammy was able to do that. Gotta say, Sammy this episode, apart from like near the end, but we'll get to that, in whatever order we get to.
Yeah.
But, like, I feel like it's a little bit of a Xander scenario where we kind of came in and just thought, he was going to be one dimensional, kind of like,
Same.
I don't want to say dummy, but like, like not going to be the most strategic, not going to be the most like usually, more so about his charisma slash, physical attributes as opposed to like his brain. But he
Yeah.
was able to use his brain, and he does have that social awareness too of like, I know I'm the youngest one, so some people aren't going to want to listen to me.
Yeah.
And, even lying about his age, just saying like, oh, I'm 22.
Yeah, age him up a little bit so that way, when he does come off as maybe a little more intelligent or smart, it might be taken a little more seriously than what some people might take a 19-year-old's opinion.
That's fair. That
Yeah,
is
which
fair.
which is good. Yeah, I thought Sammy was doing pretty good. I too thought I feel like he's could be the Xander of the season. I very could well see him make a very deep run in this entire season. Yeah, surprised. Now I'm happy he's on my team. I think he's a real contender to make a splash on the season.
I will say with the Baka tribe, I guess we'll get into it now. With him, where his position is, he didn't end up voting with Mariah, but he
Mhm.
was, kind of like advertising, hey, let's get a Bowen and stuff like that. And that could be something where even if you didn't vote with Mariah, the fact that you brought it up could go less in his favor,
Mhm.
especially with the girls not wanting to, vote out another girl. And then also Gabler, getting that idol. And so it's like he cannot be voted out the next time unless he actually goes through with his, I'm not going to play it. I'm going to do the
Yeah.
shot in the dark. When that happened, I'm like,
Yeah,
if he
I'm just gonna
follows,
say right now, despite him getting that idol, he gets the worst player of the episode, like just straight up. He that how he handled that entire situation was god awful. He's like, he's not gonna be the next one going on that try, but I think he's the one after that.
yeah,
I think he's in since there's trouble and he struggled in the challenge as well. I can just see two more immunity challenges, him just costing them the tribe like immunity pretty much, and eventually they have to be like, okay, we got to just get rid of him.
I can see that, dude. If he went through with that plan, I think I think he over I think he beats Zayn with the dumbest elimination ever.
Yeah,
Because the
I
thing with
wanted him to
Zayn,
get voted out so bad. I like it would have been so much funnier.
that would have been the one time I would have been glad that I got the first elimination in one of our drafts.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it would have just been entertaining. I love the entertaining scenario of the person who gets a temporary idol who can only use it two times for the first two tribal councils, doesn't use it, and then
Throws his
is
vote
talked
away.
out of even using his shot in the dark.
I will say this, since this is a great transition. Ellie, she is everything I wanted out of Tori.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
is everything I wanted out of Tori. What I thought of Tori going into 42 is what Ellie is. So
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, and it's funny because you decide not to draft her because you were afraid of having another Tory situation.
where's my draft list? I mean, she was like 11 on my list. I mean, if you got it a lot of the people that I thought was gonna, if you got more people, I probably would have drafted her like at like 7, 8, or 9.
Mhm.
But yeah, it was just more so of like, going into this, you never really know what people are going to be like. Case in point, Sammy, like
Mhm.
being, yeah, he's loud and yeah, he has all this like, positive energy. But there is a lot more brains going on there than what preseason kind of suggested to. Um,
Exactly.
I guess since we're on the Baka tribe, we just gotta first off, they had an out. They didn't have to pronounce it Baka. but anytime they're like Baka, Baka,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like,
I laughed so hard when Janine was going, yes, Baka, yes, Baka.
I don't know. No one production said anything.
No, I think they know. I think they knew after the fact, maybe because when Jeff announced them as Baka, they had a little music like cue that kind of seemed like a dopey music cue, and I was just like, wait a second.
I think that it could be that, and it could be the like they were too positive for their own good.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I think Janine or at least some of them probably know about it and they're just like playing into it and they're like, yeah, let's just be super excited about having this name.
yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. If I went on Survivor this time around and it was the Baka and I was on, I think I would facepalm a little bit, but I couldn't help but like laugh at it. It's not like I'd probably have a confessional. I'm like, so we're the Baka tribe. Baka means idiot in Japanese. So
Yeah. Yeah, not the greatest name in the world. But
no,
honestly, but it's also entertaining, so I guess I can't be like super mad about it.
no. I say like with this tribe, like the tribe chemistry and all that. It is cool seeing kind of like Ellie as like the focal point of this, whether or
Yeah.
not that's
I
gonna
think she's
bite
the
her.
queen pin. I think she's going to be the queen pin on that tribe. I think she's
It
going to be
looks
calling a lot of the shots.
it looks like it, especially since it looks like she has Gabler in her back pocket.
Yeah,
Um, and Gabler being like at least for one more vote. Um,
yeah,
and like she is smart and she does have like with her story with her sister and everything. Um, you know, when I was hearing that, I was like, damn.
mhm,
Because I've known people in my life who has had to like suffer through addiction and stuff like that. So I know it can be very rocky and stuff like that.
mhm.
And because she knew her sister and stuff, was able to like, how sometimes you're able to bull crap your way through a conversation just by what little stuff you know from like someone else talking about it all the time.
Yeah,
She was able to do that to get with get some like, personal connection with Gabler.
mhm.
It's funny how Gabler is kind of like this, what's the right word? He's a lot more important than we thought going in. Uh
Yeah, yeah.
but
Well,
not in the sense.
it's hard to say. Like he's important, but he's also like it's just his strategy was just so all over the place and so bad, that it's like I think they're just giving us a lot of screen time right now. I think we might be getting a Brad scenario here with
Yeah,
Gabler. Like they're going to give us the screen time while he's still here. Because I do think that this tribe is going to have gone to tribal pre-merge at least like 3 times, like at the minimum.
it's
And
definitely possible.
I don't see Gabler making it past after his idol gets used next time.
No, I mean, like if they're going back again, and it could be like a JD thing where it's
Mhm.
like we want to keep you around, but at the same time we keep losing. So,
Yeah, yeah,
um,
not good in challenges. And honestly, like some people might think he's a great goat because he's easy to beat in the end, but he's also just such an erratic and chaotic player that you couldn't. It's hard to control him. Like he is going to do stuff that you are like, that's not a good thing for like our game as a whole. Like that stuff's going to happen. So,
yeah, yeah,
he is the kind of player you don't really want to be dragging through the game.
no, no. Yeah, I feel like he's. We'll see how things go with him. Will Baka Tribe go to Tribal Council next episode? I know we're getting ahead of ourselves, but we'll see. We'll
Yeah,
see. I mean,
if
like,
it's a double tribal, then yeah. If
if
they
it's a
do
double,
send,
then yeah. Um, yeah, I feel like since we're still on this Baka Trap, I gotta say the part where it's like relationships and stuff during Tribal Council,
mhm.
I couldn't help but laugh at that, mostly because I was half tempted to record that and post it on my story just so someone could kind of get a message,
Mhm.
um but it is relatable, and I felt like that was kind of funny. I also thought it was funny how Jeff just reacted to them being like, whoa, 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 you thought you guys were going to be the final six.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Hold up.
I was gonna say, before I feel like Jeff has really calmed down and kind of like he'll just like agree with a lot of the castaways. Like in the more recent years, like he won't push back. I felt like we got sassy Jeff to come back for this episode, and I was so happy because I love when Jeff calls people out
Yeah.
for the things they are saying.
Yeah, yeah, I feel like his reactions to this tribe, because like, that tribal council was pretty good in the grand scheme of things, because like even Mariah coming up with that, it was a moral victory. And
Yeah,
then everyone just kind of like, no, fam,
no,
that's not how that, not in Survivor. Like,
yeah.
it's cool to stay positive, but sometimes a loss is a loss, and a crappy situation is a crappy situation.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely seemed in that moment when everyone said nah that she was definitely the one who was going to be targeted there because it's like
Yeah.
clearly their ideas of what's best for the tribe ended up being on different wavelengths.
Oh yeah. Oh
Um,
yeah. Um, and you saw that with in the like, before the challenge too, where it was like you knew their fate was sealed when they were like, "Oh, we haven't really talked to any strategy." Everyone was like, "I'll let you know if your name comes up," and everything like that. And like Owen was talking like, "Oh, this is probably gonna blow up in her face come first tribal council." And
yeah.
I was like, in my head, I'm like, "Yeah, they're gonna go to this episode."
Yeah, yeah. I actually wrote notes down for this episode, surprisingly.
Same, same. I
And
haven't referenced them yet, but
yeah, yeah. One of the notes I have here is I did think Owen played a bit of a messy game at that moment of trying to like you could tell he wanted to like play really hard, but like everyone else wasn't at that level right at that
yeah,
moment. Um, and I think we kind of see he's kind of on the outs. The only reason they keep him is because of physical strength. Um, like I could definitely see I think if Baka goes next episode, there's two people in trouble, and he is one of them. It's him and Janine. I think if they
yeah.
keep challenge like I think Janine agreeing to go and take out Mariah here was not good if they keep on that mindset of challenge performance. I could see her getting targeted here. Um
Yeah.
and if but if they decide actually let's go for more social, like who we like better, then I think Owen's the one that's going to get targeted.
I mean, I wouldn't count out Nasami, just because it's like, hmm. It's more so of like kind of what I said earlier, because he was on the, I wouldn't say the outs of the votes, but like he
Mhm.
was, what's the right word? He was advertising to get rid of Owen. Maybe that could put
Yeah.
some like heat on him,
Yeah. See,
but
I'm not sure because we actually first see Ellie talking to both Gabler and Sammy and telling the plan, and they agree. I wonder if Sammy was just trying to give Mariah a vote so that way she felt comfortable, and more so than him actually being like, we need to do this.
that could, it could be.
Yeah.
Hope it's not. He's my winner pick. So like, if he goes home pre-merge, I get that dishonor.
Yeah, we haven't had that happen yet. We have not had our first pick go home pre-merge.
Season's still early. Uh, oh god. All right. Anything else about the Baka tribe? Because I feel like, obviously it got the most green time because like,
Yeah.
tribal and everything. Um, Trying to think of anything else that could possibly kind of come up here. Let me consult the notes a little.
Um,
Um, do
yeah, I don't have anything else in my notes about this tribe.
thing is, they're always like, we talked a lot about them, so I feel like uh yeah, I'm just kind of skimming through, and there's nothing really that's popping out.
Yeah, I think we've pretty much covered everyone to some
Yeah,
degree.
yeah. Um, let's go with Vessi. So Vessi tribe.
Mhm.
Um, Cody definitely being like that high energy thing. He's definitely, I feel, after this episode, I'm like, yeah, he's gonna talk himself out of the game. He has that like manic kind of like energy. He reminds me of who's the actor that plays Jay in Big Mouth, and he's also in. He's like in a lot of
Oh,
stuff.
oh, Jason Mantzoukas.
Yes, him. Like that kind of like, that kind of like manic energy going into everything. I mean,
Mhm.
I also have to say, the episode was named after his butt tattoo.
How awesome is that? Let's just be honest. That is the greatest thing they could have done.
I was like, I think it is pretty dang funny, but in the moment, I'm not. Because when I saw the episode title and it was like living, I'm like, huh, that's kind of like an interesting thing. And then the fact that it ended up being his butt tattoo, I'm like,
Yeah,
um, kudos. Kudos
it's
to
good.
Cody for having, that tattoo,
Yeah,
ending up as an episode. I don't think he would have ever in a million years think that would have
been the Survivor episode title.
exactly.
Yeah,
The season premiere.
premiere. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
He,
I do have I did notice something. I'm not saying he's a winner, but he did have a quote unquote winner quotes by saying that he did feel like not only was he good enough to play the game, but he was like I'm good enough to win the game. Like he thought he had the skills to win the game. There were only a few people who really had like a I could win this game like quotes in the premiere, and him being one of them is definitely something to keep an eye on. He could maybe Fabio his way to a win, just somehow get near to the end, win some immunities, and suddenly he sits at the end and uh just enough people on the jury vote for him because they thought he was hilarious.
that is a way. If you're a funny, crazy guy,
Yeah,
lean into.
not
I mean,
saying I think that's going to happen, but
no,
I still put it down as like
a
something just to
possibility.
yes, something there in case as just a reminder, he might show more winter stuff going on, or he could completely implode next episode. We'll see.
Just based on the preview, well, it didn't show the Baka tribe, which
Yeah,
could be an entire misdirection,
yeah.
but it is something where we do see uh, Dwight talking about him, and like, um, we'll see because he seems to be very capable
Mhm.
in challenges and stuff. Like,
Yeah, I
um,
also noticed Jeff mentioned in a interview about the premiere that like teasing next week is that the immunity challenge is going to be another important one to see who you should actually keep. So I'm wondering if we're going to get another elimination based off of challenge performance and strength. And if that's the case, I don't think it's going to be Cody. Because remember,
maybe
Cody also
he well, Naneka and Cody kind of came up with the whole thing. I think
yeah,
Naneka said it just a hair shy, but Cody
yeah.
has the louder voice
Yeah, because
with the bamboo.
yeah, I know Jeff also credited just Cody in that moment because they asked him about that moment as well, and he basically said that that was Cody that came up with it. So I think because NECA, I think because NECA was like closer to it, she definitely gets a little bit there, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. It could also be a thing where they were kind of discussing and Naneka tried to
Yeah,
say it first.
it's also just NECA.
NECA.
Yeah, yeah,
I was pretty sure it's just like when you're so used to saying something
yeah,
for so long, it takes a while to break it. So
yeah,
NECA, NECA,
yeah,
and
exactly.
NECA,
Yeah.
NECA.
But I mean, it was a smart challenge hack, honestly. Like, I can't wait for the Peridium video with that as the next challenge hack.
Yeah, I mean, like it was very, very smart move because like, because that, because this time around, usually the key isn't on like a slope.
Mhm.
And that definitely offered like a bigger challenge for everyone because
Yeah.
usually getting that part done is like a small obstacle, if that. That's kind of like, you know,
Mhm.
that's what they put like two or three of those within the challenge of like getting them off the like, little branches. But
Mhm.
this time with the slant, it made it a lot harder because you're fighting gravity. You're also fighting the height and stability of the bamboo shoot.
Exactly. Yeah, because
So
at some points, like, you can't get any further, honestly, by doing it that way, the way they were doing. Like, unless you have a crazy long reach, um, that would be extremely difficult. But yeah, just putting it in like that, you can just go boop, there you go.
yeah, and it was a very strong. It got them the win. So like, very, very important and very, very impactful thing. Though the fact that that tribe, even though they got it first, were not able to make fire for the first like day and a half, basically.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, their shelter life, the Vessi tribe, not the best.
Yeah, I thought it was hilarious where Dwight was just like expecting there to be someone who's good at doing all this making a shelter and everything, and no one was good at it.
No, I mean, like, I wouldn't say it's like wrong to assume because like usually there's one handy person
They
within a
tried to
tribe.
put one person who's like been in construction or is good at working with their hands a lot.
Yeah,
Um, but we didn't have as much that like I think Cody is like supposed to be that person, but he honestly he's a salesman, which was hilarious because he made this whole thing about anti salespeople in the episode
yeah.
as
Well, I
well.
mean, like, because that's true. Because like, because that is one of the professions where it is something where there is a little bit of, at least the good ones, there is like a little bit of like manipulation that comes into it.
Yeah.
Just as someone that have done, sales things before, which I don't like mostly because of the manipulate, or I wouldn't say manipulation, but like because of the sales tactics that they kind of you know that are used with that.
Hmm.
It can be a little manipulative to like try and get this.
Yeah.
So like because Justine kind of like target herself was like, oh yeah, I'm a saleswoman, you know, it was something where Cody did have like the smarter play and was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna use that. So like that way they're gonna think, less of her.
Yeah.
Um,
Could we see a potential almost Tony moment with Cody of Justine coming up to Cody and being like, "Hey, I know you're in sales."
that'd be, I don't think so. Uh,
I'm a salesperson. I know if you're in sales. That's how it works.
uh, that would be kind of, I don't know. Maybe there might be something like that. I feel like it would be too on the nose.
Yeah.
And I don't think either one really give me Tony or Sarah vibes, at least right now.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I will say that he kind of matches his manic energy from season 34.
Mhm.
Cody does. But
Yeah.
I'm gonna go for it. The thing is, no one looked for idols this episode. Well,
Yeah.
that's not entirely true. When
Yeah. Justine was poking and prodding. Same with who was it? Noel.
Noel, yeah.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like, I wouldn't say like an important thing. Like usually if someone goes idol hunting in the first episode, they kind of make a bigger deal out of it. Um,
Yeah.
at least there's like a good 5 minutes dedicated to like the hunt of it. And even if they
Yeah.
come up unsuccessful, there's people talking of like, oh, are they idol hunting and stuff like
Yeah.
that?
Well,
Oh,
we
they could
did
be
get
a
a
temp.
little bit of that because when they were doing that, that's when we got to see Cody, NECA, and Jesse trying to create,
Kind of like bond a
yeah,
little.
bond and create like this little alliance. I don't know how strong of an alliance that will be. Yeah, but we'll see. I think out of all the alliances that we have kind of seen. I think that's probably one of the weaker alliances that has been kind of created. So, like,
Yeah.
in the Brand Steel world, I would probably give that like a 3 or a 4.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just, I don't know. Cody is like one of those people where I don't put my full trust. I wouldn't put my full trust with him just because of the energy he's kind of putting out. Um, Jesse seems a bit more level-headed and stuff like that, and so does NECA in the
Yeah.
sense of like they're both two people where they kind of they look like they both have good reads on people, and it's not that like Cody is like a bad guy at all. I'm not saying that. It's just like his different kind of like energy that's like
Yeah.
maybe raise an eyebrow or two.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think he's going to be a bit of the villain of the season. I could definitely see he's already lying about his job. He's I think I could definitely see him backstabbing people who he tells like we're good, and then immediately tries to vote them out. I can already see
True.
him doing stuff like that. I do think he's at least making the merge. I just don't see
I think he'll
why.
be shy of the merge. I think
Interesting.
he'll be just shy of the merge.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you keep this guy around a little bit. I don't think you're super afraid of him until he starts winning maybe a couple challenges.
I don't think it's more so of him as a threat, but him as a wild card. Because
Mhm.
he kind of has that kind of like wild card. The man has an ass tattoo.
Yeah.
Is this someone I'm not judging, but is this someone where you think they're always going to make the most strategic decisions? I
Yeah.
mean,
Don't judge a book by its cover, Ryan,
I'm not. I'm doing it by the description on the back. Living.
Living. Yeah,
I
he's living his life.
He's living his life. But I feel like it is something where, you know, I don't think like I would want to align with Cody, like because it just feels like he is a bit of a wild card out there.
Uh,
Because and you never know what to expect. He kind of reminded me of Nora 2.0.
uh,
Um, Sammy a little bit too, but more so with his like little oh, I'm a student, but I'm also a pet cremator, but I'm a business owner, and then like
yeah, the
they kind of
graphics.
crammed everything there.
Yeah, yeah. That's honestly even more creative than what they did with Debbie when she
Yeah,
would list off all her things where it would just be different titles every time. I liked where it was just
Debbie's
like bam, bam, bam.
Debbie is what I meant for that. But
Yeah,
yeah, Cody is giving me Nora vibes, and like could make for great TV. Might even get you to the finale and a number three spot. But I don't know. You know how much Nora caused chaos on her
yeah.
tribes. It's like, do you really want to go, especially in the sense where it's six, there is nowhere to hide
Yep.
in this season, especially in pre-merge. And whether or not they will tribe swap or something like that, I still think it's in the realm of possibility,
Hmm.
especially since this one wasn't a double elimination episode.
Hmm.
Um, so we'll see. But at the same time, I'm like, in the back of my head, I'm like, okay, there's only like so because the game goes faster when there's less people. So there is like you gotta have to like decide, all right, who am I going forward with?
Hmm.
Because like even if like this tribe doesn't lose another challenge, because I do think, yeah, they're also a very strong team.
Hmm.
I mean, hell, they won the first one.
Yeah, yeah. I think this is the only tribe that can beat Coco in an immunity challenge.
Yeah, yeah. Um, So it's like with that going forward, it's like, all right, you kind of need to keep around the people you can trust because come next week, if we have to go to tribal or come merge when, especially if there is no tribe swap, familiarity plays a lot into that. And you saw that a lot in like early OG Survivor. But like in these days, it's like we have kind of seen those like tribal lines early on kind of determine certain alliances, even if it's like
Hmm.
like even if it's like people within like I'd say the main part of that tribe. Look, I think we saw that a lot in 42. was like, all right, so the people that were kind of like in their alliances were able to kind of like target people on the outside
Mhm.
of their, like of the majority alliances within their respective tribes. That's
Yeah.
why Tori was like, oh, I'm a kind of free agent, and stuff like that. Or, it is something where it's important moving forward because like I'm not saying, oh, if we get to that five, but like, it's important to keep those around.
Mhm.
Or if we look at the blue tribe that was in 41, how even though like yeah, they lost some people in the early merge, we still had quite a bit of those quite a bit of the people left making it to finale night. Like
Mhm.
3 out of the 5 spots made it to the finale. And I mean like those numbers going in, it just helps out a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, another blue tribe. I think that's going to be pretty dominant this season in these immunities. Maybe at most going to tribal once pre-merge. Like
Yeah.
that's probably the most, which is I think great for your pick for Lindsay actually, because her problem is she would have struggled pre-merge, I think. But I think her getting to the merge, she's going to have a lot longer in this game than we
I
had
don't
originally thought.
I don't know. Like, I think, yeah, let's move on to Coco Tribe. I feel this one, it's a very mixed bag, and like at the focal point of this is it Clara or Kayla? Sorry, just remembering off the top of my head. Carla. I
Carla.
don't know where I thought Clara.
Yeah, I was like,
Anywho,
I didn't know who you were talking about.
I mixed my letters up. But with Carla, it is something where she right now is the focal point of her tribe. And there was a lot of like, I'd say 2 out of 3 tribes were like, oh, let's do like a female alliance, or I want to work with all women. And like, Carla has put herself in the middle. She is aligned with pretty much everyone, with James, with Ryan, with, Geo. And like they
Mhm.
had like a interesting like bond, talking about like both their experiences, both being Spanish, Hispanic, as
Mhm.
well as both of them having like, being LGBT and how that kind of like shifted with the family dynamics, whether it was their significant other or themselves.
Mhm.
So she is playing a very social game right now. And so it's like, it really depends on where they want to go with it. Because, like, if that tribe goes, we could see Ryan go, we could see Geo go,
Yeah.
or we could see one of the girls go. But I feel like, and I think the survivor specialist did mention it, that, you know, what's her name? Lindsay did have it doesn't help that last season had a Lindsay. So I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
uh,
I keep it going like, oh, am I just like thinking of last season?
yeah, it, yeah, but it could be a thing where she is giving off Chrissy vibes from,
Mhm.
season 35, and like she did get like a decent edit this
Yeah.
first episode. So like, and then it is also to kind of like quote the survivor specialist as well, or not quote them, but like
Mhm.
reference them. It is something where it is a more new school kind of like survivor, and like even the mom archetype can make it further, even though like yeah, some people, the thing is it's like it's not
Mhm.
a exact formula, but it
Yeah.
is something where modern survivor is a bit more flexible with whom they get rid of,
Yeah.
these days.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like if you do get to the merge, like, sometimes you're not necessarily looking at the mom as the big threats of the season. Like you're
No.
not. They're usually not the first people to pop out at you. Even Tiffany going home at that merge there, it was really because of the chaos that got ensued because of Xander and the knowledge and his power thing. Like that's
Yeah.
really what kind of got her to go home at that moment. Otherwise, she probably makes a deeper run if Xander doesn't outplay that moment.
Yeah, I mean, like Yellow Tribe was just on the kind of like I said, that early kind of like thing moving forward.
Yeah,
Yellow Tribe just kind of got, screwed over there. And with, one of them branching off and all that, it just
yeah,
kind of put those three in that terrible position.
Yeah, and
Uh,
ignoring the edit, Heather, who was on the winning tribe of that season, makes a deep run, making Final Four. Obviously they just didn't like her, I guess, her confessional, so they didn't get it for the edit, but that doesn't matter.
yeah,
We still saw in the game her being able to kind of make it through pretty much unnoticed.
yeah, and then like almost winning the fire challenge too. Like,
Yeah.
one of the closest fire challenges like we've ever seen. My favorite is still Tony and Lucina, but
Yeah.
like, that one for a first time like season, for a first time player season, that one was pretty good. It was like, whoa,
Mhm.
whoa, who's it actually gonna be? Because it was close throughout it, and then like, um, so yeah, so kind of like jump back, you never really know what to expect. Kind of like what we were kind of talking about before we started recording with Mariah.
Mhm.
With Mariah, she came in with big character energy.
Mhm.
We thought I think it's part of the thing where she herself is a big character. You see her, she's like in rainbow, head to toe, and stuff like that. So obviously you're going to think she's going to be like a big character moving forward because she looks like a big character. And I
Yeah.
know like that's a concern that, oh wait, are they going to get rid of the big characters? However, it is the edit that kind of determines who is kind of like a big character within it.
Mhm.
Um because that's kind of like how the narrative is played.
Yeah, I also want to just bring up some differences between her and Marianne in terms of how the season goes, because I think that there's a little bit of comparison of how they almost kind of want to play the game in a similar way of building a lot more of the social bonds. They're very positive energy people, um, and you got to remember Marianne only went to tribal once pre-merge, and she was also going to be the next one to go home. Like she was going to be the next person voted out of that tribe. Um, and also I'll even bring up Erica because I think Erica is another good kind of representation of kind of a similar maybe thing here. And she never went to tribal pre-merge. Like
Yeah.
they were able to not really have to go pre-merge in this area, so they were able to make it further and kind of be able to slide under the radar. First off, Mariah would have never been able to slide under the radar. Everyone would always be able to know her. They were able to know her here. Like I bet if she was dressed more modestly
Yeah.
and was a little more like you like I don't know, just you can't see her as visibly. I bet Janine might have even been seen as like, let's get rid of Janine here instead, like
Yeah.
because by the challenge I couldn't really ascertain that Mariah was a weakling in the challenge.
I think it's like I think it's something where because she was aligned and pretty tight with Ellie, it's
Hmm.
like, well, you're not going to get rid of your alliance. So even
Yeah.
it's kind of like one of the
Yeah,
things
but
where we're
even
going to look
Mariah was
past that.
alliance. Like even Mariah, like they were like, let's do the girls alliance, and then it was just suddenly like, actually, I'm with you now, Janine. Let's get rid of Mariah.
Maybe because there's only so much even though this was a more like, get to know the cast heavy episode,
Mhm.
maybe there was a lot more behind the scenes where, oh, they bonded a lot more than we saw
Uh-huh.
prior to the challenge and stuff like that. And so like, like if your number one um is not really doing too hot and stuff like that, but you still want to keep her around. It's like,
Mhm.
oh yeah, well Mariah also, and it's kind of like, oh, you kind of like take the attention away from like your ally and stuff like that. And
Yeah,
obviously Janine's going to go on board with it, and
yeah,
Ellie with Gabler, whichever. Um,
yeah, yeah. Because remember, Janine did struggle in the challenge. She was the one who was
she
going
did.
under the thing. Like,
And the thing is, it's like with that challenge, you need someone that's really good with digging and someone who is also like, especially if only one person had to go.
yeah,
If one person has to go, it is more, advantageous to have like a scrawnier one. Yeah, we had Ryan, but like Ryan was able to like dig through that super fast and get
yeah.
his brick house of a body
He was
through.
practicing already.
Yeah,
He did the sweat challenge. She was ready.
it was. Yeah, it was. Yeah, It was a little foreshadow.
Mhm.
But yeah, he did well, even going back. We got to talk about the immunity challenge where James's pants,
Yeah. They're falling off.
uh, which I'm like,
They were
oh
like down
gosh.
around his ankles. Is this the new strat, Ryan? Is this the new strat? Do challenges with no pants. You're gonna be way more aerodynamic, and you're not gonna be worried about anything. You can just focus on the challenge.
Well, I mean, like, here's the thing. It depends on going in because, like, obviously, what they're 3 days in, and there another thing we should bring up, like, oh, it's kind of like same with 41, 42. They're not given any like food or something. They have to like hunt for everything and
Mhm.
gather and fish. Um, like a couple days without eating, might make that, belt line a little bit looser. So
Mhm.
maybe that was a thing going in where it was a good fit prior to going in, or maybe he took off his belt. I mean, like, I think survivor tip, bring a belt.
Yeah. Yeah,
Because
that's
just in general, your clothes aren't going to fit you after a few days, like they
exactly.
were.
Yeah, like I typically wear somewhat looser article with the clothing anyways, so I know like if I lost a few pounds out of nowhere like in a quick few days, like yeah, it would
Yeah,
definitely
yeah. That also being said, it's like with this tribe moving forward, I feel it's tough to say who gets eliminated if
Mhm.
Coco goes to tribal
Yeah. Yeah.
because it is on Claire or Carla a little bit. Which
Mhm.
I think she is playing a smart game. She's the one that didn't risk her vote, and I think going back to tribal or going back to tribe, being like, yeah, I didn't play. It's with the other two. Also puts a target on both of their backs and stuff like that. I think she played that really well.
Mhm.
Um, it's ultimately what she wants to do, unless everyone is like, hey, yeah, Carla's kind of aligned with everyone and go after them. But I do not see that really happening with the tribe chemistry of this because I think she is a lot more sociable than that little villain thing in the trailer.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, they gave us villain vibes, but we haven't gotten that yet, so
no, I mean it's episode 1, so
it
stay
can always
tuned.
change. Villains can sprout up at any point in the season whenever they need it, so
Yeah,
um
yeah,
but yeah, it's gonna be hard to know what she's gonna do because she can either side with Geo and Ryan and maybe get James in there as well, side with the guys and take out one of the girls, or she does stick with the girls and James and take out Ryan or Geo. Um,
yeah,
it seemed like she bonded more with Geo, so I would actually say Ryan would be in more danger. Um,
probably. But I mean, like, then we think the challenges and stuff.
yeah.
So that's makes me think, even though like James is very social and like good at puzzles and strategy and all that stuff, he could
Mhm.
very well be in danger going in because, like, for the physical thing, you know, there's obviously physical challenges or like the physical portion of like the obstacle course and stuff gives you advantages for the puzzle.
Mhm.
But, like losing someone like that, especially after a first tribal council, could be tricky because, like, right now they have an advantage with Ryan because, like, he's able to do a lot more.
Mhm.
So it's like, but like anyone can kind of do a puzzle. So I would say it's like that's what makes this so hard to like really see what happens if this tribe goes to tribal council is
Mhm.
because they will have to weigh a lot of things because if Carla wants to be girl strong and do that original thing with James, they give up Ryan,
Yeah.
because like, but on the flip side, if she doesn't want to get rid of, but on the flip side, you're also getting rid of like someone who is physically strong on your tribe. And I feel like if they were going to do that, closer to the merge might be a better spot for that person.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I only don't know if it's gonna be James because he also had a bit of a in the
he had a
middle
good edit.
situation. Like he could go either way as well. Like he clearly was bonding a little bit with the guys. He was clearly getting brought in with the girls. Clearly he is the like fourth of whatever group ends up coming, I think. Which I think is fine for this tribe if you're going to be super dominant, maybe only going tribal like once. I think it's fine to be the fourth in
Yeah.
that situation. Yeah, like only time I could see him going home is if he just like completely whiffs the challenge. Like he is just like a complete disaster.
There is that. And another thing that we have to take into consideration too, with the new, well, I guess what do we call it now?
Yeah,
The whole like challenge where, or the whole thing where they take one person from each tribe and they risk their vote or
yeah,
potentially risk their vote. Like that always plays a factor into it. And we don't know if each time it's going to be a temporary idol or it could be an extra vote or
yeah.
something like that. Or like, even if they don't win,
Yeah,
like if
it's
that's
good that
going
they
to
don't
play.
know actually what advantage they're getting because it
Yeah,
makes it a little more risky. Like, ooh, is
very
this actually
risky.
worth it? Because like when you know it's an extra vote, I don't think it's worth it. I don't think getting one extra vote in the game is like super worth potentially losing your game.
I don't know. It's like I would say with this one, it is a lot more up to chance.
Mhm.
Whereas the prisoner's dilemma is, it depends on how good you're reading other people.
Yeah,
Because like if you lose your vote, you lose your vote, and then you're like, oh shit. But
yeah,
if you are able to go forward with like, but if you're able to go forward without having to like have that, I'd say like it's a lot of like, I still think you do have to like have a good read on people when you're thinking about doing it.
uh-huh.
Kind of like what Gabler was trying to go after, or what Carla was like, I feel like nah, it's not worth it. But like kind of like what Dwight was thinking too. It was like, all right, do I really risk my vote here?
Mhm.
Will be others, because like thing is like you have two trigger shy people or one person that's like, no, that's gonna put a target on my back, or if you have like two people like, no, that's going to put a target on my back,
Mhm.
you kind of are more inclined to be like, all right, if these two don't seem like the type to do it, maybe I should.
Yeah,
Because like,
yeah,
if you know, if I'm getting the one person one, I automatically get it. So like I don't have to worry. But I feel like that takes a lot of like predictions and also like
yeah.
assessment.
And Gabler kind of said like, yeah, I think I'm gonna do it. It's like he kind of like let
Yeah.
them know like, yeah, it's someone's doing it here, so dude, you will be taking a chance. I'm curious to know what you think of this though. So this new Shipwheel Island, I believe Rob had a podcast. They're calling it Card Shark Island. Uh,
Hard Shark Island. Okay.
yeah. Uh,
I
I,
dig it.
I'm I'm curious. I think it's less interesting for TV in terms of how it's shown. Because at least with Shippu Island, there's like a big set design. There's a clear like I'm choosing
Yeah.
this, I'm doing that. Whereas this, like the reveal is just like they flip over a card and see if they did it or not.
That's
Um,
fair. I'd say visually, yeah, it is a bit less.
mhm,
I don't really know how I feel about it quite yet. I think it is an interesting, I'd say from a mechanic standpoint, I do think this one is pretty interesting because everyone kind of, because everyone had either seen 41 or part of 42 going
mhm,
into this, or at least that's what it seems like. You know, Going in, it's like, okay, prisoner's dilemma, and you see something different than what was on the last two seasons, then you're like, okay. So it's a
mhm,
bit of a change of pace, which I think it's interesting. And I
yeah,
kind of like how they did it this time. We'll see once I see more of it, how I
yeah.
feel about it. But I like the change so far.
Yeah, I wonder how
Um,
many times they're going to go to this because I do know one of the criticisms was that we went to it a little too much in the previous two seasons. So I wonder if we're not going to get us going here like a bunch.
Maybe 3 or 4 times. We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, because
Well, at least in the pre-merge.
yeah, it's always just been a pre-merge, but I'd even say like once it hits like the third or fourth time, like it does feel like okay, like do we really want to be here for this right now? Like, you know, we're getting like the same thing now with new people pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm curious how many times we will be getting it, if they're gonna try to keep it similar, or if they're gonna maybe mix it up.
I'd say 3 if it's there's a double elimination episode pre-merge.
Yeah.
4 if there's not any of that.
Yeah. How cool would it be though if next week they go back to Shipwheel Islands so that way once they come back, the stories will be different from each other. So that way it might seem like someone's not telling the truth.
It's possible because like the thing about the advantage going out there,
Mhm.
and both of the and well, we really only saw Vessi and Baka like kind of like talk about it because like Coco didn't do anything.
Mhm.
So therefore they didn't get screen time with that. So like, they were pretty honest about it, which I think with a lot of that stuff, when you kind of have to go away because your tribe members are going to go at some point, even if it's just one or two,
Yeah.
you kind of have to be like, well, this is kind of like how it works. Because, like, if
Uh-huh.
someone says something different, even if they're the one that is lying, that's
Exactly.
bad for both of you because that puts a target on both of you.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like with Dwight, being like upfront, it's like, yeah, I lost my vote and stuff like that. I mean, that could put a big target on his back, or like
Yeah.
it could be something where he's harmless right now.
Yeah. Watch next week. Cody goes to this island. They do Shipwheel Island, so that way it's a different thing. And then Cody is really like, okay, you were lying. And then he like exposes Dwight, even though Dwight was telling the truth. And Dwight goes home because you can't vote. It's like how
Well,
crazy of a
it
move
would
that
be
would be.
crazy. However, the week after, or whenever someone else from that tribe goes, will be like, oh, you're full of shit. And that puts a huge target on your back going forward. So
Yeah.
it's like one of the things like when we saw with Island of the Idols, where you either everyone commits to it and no one says anything, or everyone is upfront about it. Or at least that's what you have to do with your tribe.
Mhm.
Because like with Island of the Idols, that was kind of like the best kept secret amongst the people that were, have gone.
Mhm.
And like, as we saw, Sheehan at the end was like, oh, I had no idea this was the thing.
Yeah.
Uh,
I didn't
so
know
I
Rob and Sandra were out here.
Yeah. Um, so you really don't know moving forward, because I feel like it's one or the other, and I feel like the smartest play, especially in like new Survivor, the
Mhm.
40s, in the 40 era,
Yeah.
it's like, okay, when it comes to like the thing like that, because multiple people are going, not just one each week,
Yeah.
we kind of have to keep our story straight because any of that will put either a target on my back, or at least it's
Yeah.
something that keeps me in the conversation of like, uh-oh, there is a or like it keeps me in the conversation of people to get rid of.
Yeah.
Um,
You got to be honest, especially pre-merge, I feel, because they're looking for any little thing to just get you gone, so that way they can move on to the next tribal, pretty much.
yeah, you have nowhere to hide. You have to build the trust now. And little things like
Exactly.
that are ways to build trust. And even Gabler said, um, yeah, little side thing. I do find it ironic. He is a metalhead and he has an arm sleeve tattoo, but he hates skinny jeans. I guess because it's not because there is some stigma between alternative culture when it comes to like, alternative rock, stuff like that, or like rock in general, where it
Mhm.
definitely has its subgenres. And sometimes the emo kind of like aesthetic, which usually wear the skinny jeans,
Uh-huh.
kind of gets frowned upon a bunch on other things. Like if you saw that episode of South Park,
Mhm.
uh, the one where it's like the goth versus emo,
Yeah.
there can be little things like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anywho,
Okay.
I digress.
Yeah.
I think we covered a lot of ground this episode. There's like
Yeah.
one person I want to talk about,
Oh,
but
who
I
is
feel
it?
like Cassidy.
Cassidy? Oh yeah. Oh.
Shut up.
Yeah, yeah. Are you high on Cassidy right now?
The Catherine Newton thing is what got me. And then also, because it is related to the Card Shark Island thing.
Mhm.
So when they were guessing numbers between 1 and 20, she said 17. 17 is one of my favorite numbers.
Okay, well, we know who
Um,
Ryan is rooting for the rest of the season.
shut up. No. I feel like it really depends with how things go for that. Like I said,
Yeah.
I can even see Coco you taking it really. I'd say that one is the one where there is no clear cut who is going next.
Yeah, I think
With
Carla's
Bessie,
the safest. So I think she's the only one that's like super like she's not going home on that drive.
yeah. Um, Whereas with Vesey, you kind of have the thing where it looks like either Cody or Dwight,
Mhm.
at least right now, or even Justine a little bit.
Justine has a outward shot, I'd say.
Yeah, yeah. And then with with the Baka tribe, I think we kind of know like who may be a target, at least for the next one, because Gabler's safe for next one, and
Mhm.
so is Ellie. So it kind of really depends on like if Ellie is able to convince Gabler again, and or Gabler. I'm gonna say English is a weird language. And then like if Ellie really wants to stick with Janine, which I, I I think that's a thing with this one where it's like
Mhm.
you don't necessarily want to be like, oh, like they're trying to be, have like the girls stick together and not automatically go for like the easy votes and stuff like that. But at the same time, it's like moving forward what is best for the overall tribe. So
Mhm.
who knows how much that is going to weigh. But in the sense of like, maybe she really doesn't want to lose another girl in the tribe because that puts her on the outs. Um, either going for Owen or going for Sammy. It really, really depends.
Mhm.
Though I say that one, I would say Coco. If it comes to like who is the more obvious ones, I'd say Vesey has the more obvious next vote.
Yeah.
Then Baka, then Coco.
Mhm. Yeah. I would say for Baka, it's definitely looking like it's gonna either be if they do want to prioritize strength still, it's Janine, or if they care more about social, it's probably Owen. And then there's an outward shot of Sammy in case something crazy goes on. But I think he's more physical than Owen, and I think he's more in than Owen. So I just kind of see more
Yeah,
positives of them keeping him over Owen.
that's fair. I just don't want to lose
I know.
my
I
winner pick
I know.
prior.
He's definitely in some trouble, I'd say. He needs to go out and find that beware advantage.
Either that or, he lightning strikes twice and the Baka tribe wins another temporary idol.
Yeah.
Um, because I think if it's down to like four and Gabler doesn't have his, idol that he can use anymore,
Yeah.
it will be like even if Owen plays his temporary idol, if that is the case, this is all hypothetical.
Yeah.
Even if he plays it, at five and isn't, and is vulnerable at four on that tribe, it's still like Gabler.
Yeah.
Because like then again, it really depends on how often they go and where the tribe goes in the boot order list.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I would definitely say I think Gabler is not the next one to go on try, but the one after that. Like I do think he is.
unless Ellie is like, look, don't play your idol. We can use it for a fake idol later. And like,
Yeah.
you know, I can see someone do that, but at the
Yeah.
same time, anyone that falls for that, I'm like, no, that is like red flag, red
Yeah.
flag, red
Yeah,
flag.
yeah, technically, yeah, I mean, you could technically show, like, "Hey, this is a temporary idol for 2 idols," like, you can show that anytime, even if it's not real.
Yeah, and I mean, we have seen people, keep the notes and like use them in different ways because like
Yeah,
with the notes, it's simple to be like, oh, hey, yeah, this is an official thing. I'm not joking around with you. I
uh-huh,
mean, Dwight could always carry that thing around with him, and then like, if there's ever another time for, let's say they randomize it and he goes out again or whatever, he can be like, yep, same. Then again, it's like, I don't know. Notes are playable, but you still kind of have to play them right if you
mhm,
do.
yeah,
Because information and misinformation is so important in this game. And
mhm,
like, if you're making misinformation, it obviously has to be believable. What happens with that, or like what makes it believable? Notes that people can see and touch, and it makes them
yeah,
feel like, oh, okay, this is legit.
yeah.
Their situation.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, those are the ones where you really get a pulling over is when there is that note that literally says what this is, even if it is a temporary idol that ends up not being used, like that is still something to be used there.
Yeah,
So yeah. Uh okay, yeah, I feel like we've pretty much covered
covered everything except
everything.
for MVP and LVP.
Yeah, I've already given my LVP to Gabler.
That's fair. Yeah. You don't be like, "I'll really play my shot in the dark," and then
Yeah.
just
Just
yeah.
like just the worst thing you could ever do to start the negotiations for Char like, if he wasn't in with Ellie, he would have been in so much trouble.
Yeah. Um, Speaking of which, alright. I feel like there's 3 people that's worthy of the MVP.
Mhm.
One of them being Ellie, one of them being Carla, and one of them being Ryan, but for all different reasons. For the big 3 reasons: strategic, social, and physical. So it's like I'm kinda torn between these 3. I think I'm more inclined to give it to I'm still thinking because
Um,
I feel like all 3 of them deserve it in their own merit.
yeah.
I would
I
say, like, moving forward beyond this episode, maybe Carla.
mhm.
So I think I'm just gonna stay there for now.
I would also throw Sammy into that mix as well. I think
Yeah,
Sammy
that's fair.
had a really good episode as well. I think he's showing that he is more than what we thought originally. He's going to be physical, he's going to be strategic, he's social. Um, uh,
Socially aware too.
yeah,
There is a difference between the 2,
yeah,
as we have
exactly.
seen here.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, so I think he could be setting himself up as a big player for the season. But I'm still going to give it to Ellie. I think she is in the best position on the tribe still. I think she's going to probably be the one to control it. I think, we might be seeing the pre-merge Shan levels of gameplay with her of really
Probably.
dominating the tribe, and everyone is basically deciding who goes because of her.
Yeah, I don't feel like, because with it being so little people and her being very, very smart and
Mhm.
sociable as well, I don't think a coup would happen on that tribe where they're like, "No, she's calling all the shots." I don't
Yeah.
feel like that is kinda like the route they're going with there.
Yeah. I think
Um,
people like her like enough that they're not going to just suddenly flip on her because
yeah, yeah. Yeah, like I said, feel like, yeah, there was a lot of strong gameplay this time around, and it's
yeah.
really, it really depends on, like, Mm, I don't even say what you value, because I value a lot of different things. Like, I didn't go with Ryan this time, and I love, my physical beast.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, yeah.
and
I
also
feel
the
like a
namesake.
lot of people had a chance to shine, with really the only person to have like the real dodo like stupid moments being Gabler.
I could say Dwight also had one, but I'd say Gabler because that was so shocking that he was willing to not play his idol at
Yeah,
all and
yeah.
also throw away his vote.
I feel like Dwight's Dodo music was more about the tribe than him himself. It
Yeah.
was just them not
Yeah.
being able to do stuff. And he was the narrator telling us that they can't do stuff. So I don't think that that was him necessarily. That was just
The
um
situation.
yeah, his situation of him being the one to explain that moment.
That's fair. Yeah.
Mhm.
Don't get me wrong, Gabler.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, no. He is someone interesting going forward. What he
He's an
may do or
interesting
be.
character. Like, don't get me wrong. Like,
Yeah.
if every season we got someone who just had terrible gameplay who goes out pre-merge because of their terrible gameplay, I'd be totally okay with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, I don't know. I think moving forward, I think we do have a pretty decent cast. I think we have a lot of good players.
Mhm.
Um, I'm curious to see where things go forward and excited. Yeah. So yes, for the first time I think ever, you got
Yeah,
the first boot.
the first time it finally happens.
I mean, like
I was shocked.
I was like, watch it be Owen, watch it be Owen.
If it
Um,
yeah, if it was Owen, like your first pick was the first boots, that would have been ridiculous. But like don't like I wouldn't blame you too much because like a lot of people had Owen as their number one going into the season.
one or hot, like I'd say a lot of people thought top six
Yeah,
or
I think I had him as number five on my list. Like I thought he could win, but I also just assumed he was going to make a deep run, but not necessarily win. Um, so the fact that he's already kind of in some dangerous waters is pretty shocking.
yeah. Um, I think that's just how things kind of. If Gabler didn't win that, you know, that 50-50 shot,
Yeah,
it could have been an entirely different tribal council too. One less vote, but I don't think it really mattered there.
yeah,
Um, but two, it's like if he's volunteering and stuff like that at that, and like if things played out the way they would,
yeah.
like he
Well, he
doesn't have
wouldn't
a
have been able to even play a shot in the dark because he would have lost his vote. So he would have
yeah,
probably just been like, "Guys, I lost here. Like this was all me."
yeah, but we'll never know. Not in this timeline.
Yes, exactly, exactly. So yeah, that's gonna do it for this episode. We've made it through the premiere of a new season. Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting ride. I hope that the season can continue this momentum. I know uh Survivor's very good at making these premiere episodes. Like they've really got the formula for what makes a good premiere episode now.
Yeah.
Um, it's like episode 3, 4, it's around that area that they're still trying to, I think, figure out like how to continue the story and make it interesting without having to throw a bunch of twists and stuff that ultimately just take up the entire screen.
Hmm. I don't know. I think overall, I look at the story of things, which I feel like, yeah, obviously you have that excitement that always goes for you within the first episode, and
Mhm.
things aren't always as complicated
Yeah,
in the beginning. Um, and I will say there was something ironic and poetic about the very positive tribe getting the most positive person out in the first vote. You
yeah.
know, uh, like I feel like I don't know, the first episode is always exciting because, like I said, you have that energy going in,
Mhm.
and you have a lot more material to play with in the sense of like different people you can follow. Because
Yeah.
like once you get to like 5 or 6, that's all the people you have to like edit around.
Mhm.
You can't. So like that's why you see people that that aren't main characters or who like what we saw with Heather. She got more and more confessionals near the end because like there was less people in general.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's gonna do it for this episode. And yeah, we'll see you guys next week for episode 2.
All right, peace.